Hey, YouTube, so you guys can't hear my intro music playing. Maybe if I put it real close, you can. But I'm doing my intro music on the radio broadcast now. As you can see, I'm somewhere different, and we're going to just want to see if my mic is working. Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk about a little bit about the rally. I wanted to recap. I'm feeling better. So I'm not going to do a whole show. We're just going to talk a little bit about the rally. We're going to talk about some other things, but let me get crunk on my own music real quick. I'll be right back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Friday, October 23rd, 2015. I want to first thank everyone who, all of the well wishes. I want to say you guys are the best. You guys, you guys are just great. I really appreciate all the love, all of the well wishes, all of the condolences. So many from so many different places. I was able to convey them to friends and family members of Corey, and it really meant a lot. I can't tell you how much every comment. I read every comment. Some of them I got a chance to reply to. Some of them I didn't, but I did read every single comment. Even the one or two trolls who wanted to troll, but that's nothing new. That comes with the territory. So I'm broadcasting from, I will call it Casa de la Doctor, a friend of mine who let me crash with him for the rally. So he has a pool back there and a barbecue grill. So, and I'm outside in October. So right now in Boston, I imagine it's at least 35 degrees. I'm hot out here right now. So that's South Florida. You see the sun beaming on my face. But just kind of glad to see old friends, even though the circumstances aren't what you would want them to be. It's good to be around people who, old faces, familiar places. All right, so I wanted to talk to you guys and recap a bit on the rally. A lot of interesting things happened, and to thine own self be true, right? I have to just be honest about what I felt about the rally. I'll talk about that. And somewhere around, I woke up at 4:30 this morning because that's the time I normally wake up, and I couldn't go back to sleep right away. And I started watching some clips of Hillary Clinton doing the Benghazi, talking about Benghazi hearing. And I wanted to just discuss some general things. I don't have any commercials today, so it's just really technology simple. I'm running the internet show over my cell phone, and the radio show over the cell phone, and then I'm doing the broadcast on YouTube just straight out of the laptop. So nothing fancy. I can't take any calls, but I can still read your comments on YouTube. So feel free to leave your comments on YouTube. All right. With that being said, let me talk about the rally. So let me start with this disclaimer. Whenever somebody is, whenever a family loses somebody, you do give them space. You give them special deference. You just kind of you give them the room to be and think and feel and say whatever they're feeling, because they're hurting and they're grieving. And so I was really torn whether or not I should even talk about certain things, but it's kind of important that I do because of my responsibility as I can't call myself an activist. I think somebody wrote an article and called me an activist. I'm not an activist. I'm a political observer. But I have a responsibility to my own self to be true. So there's some things I have to address. And I don't know if I should start first with the religious component or with the Black Lives Matter component. So let me just tell you what happened. It was a decent rally. There were several hundred people there. I would estimate maybe 750 people, a lot fewer than what should have been there. But that's another commentary for another day. South Florida is a different kind of place. So there weren't as many people there, but the people that were there, they were ready for action. They were ready to protest. They were ready to demand justice. But the facilitators, the people who created the event, they weren't there for action, and they weren't there for protest. They weren't there for I have to say that they weren't necessarily there for justice if the method that they used they thought was going to bring justice. Sorry, I know I probably shouldn't do this broadcast. I'm thinking about it as I'm saying it. So here's the deal. I'm a person of faith, and so are they. So are all the people who organize it. What happened yesterday ended up being a church service. It ended up being an outside service of praise and worship songs and people praying, and even there was even a sermon. And me being a person of faith, that's I saw it and I didn't understand and I couldn't go along with it. The reason why was because, I said in the video of the day, let me start there. In the video the other day that I posted, and on the brick background, the background of a brick wall, wherever I was, I don't even know where I was, but the video from the other day, I said it. I said, I'm a person of faith, but faith without works is dead. And sometimes what happens is that you lay down and you wait and you say God is going to fix something, and that generally means you're not going to do anything. That generally means you're going to wait and sit still and wait for God to fix something when you're fully capable. You're fully capable of fixing some of these things around you. So that was, to me, we're not going to get action. We're not going to get justice up here singing "We Shall Overcome" and singing "Kumbaya" and everybody just clapping in their hands and having a church service. That's cool. I mean, we could do that. I do it better than anybody else, right? But that's not going to bring justice. That's not going to make sure that what happened to Corey doesn't happen again to someone else, to someone else's son, someone else's brother. And so, it was a huge disconnect that I did. It wasn't just me. There were people who were dropping their signs and leaving because they came for action and they actually got a religious service. And there's all sorts of commentary that I want to give about how, that can kind of castrate you and keep you from doing things. I may give that at the end, but I want to just kind of give you paint the picture of the entire rally. There were, and I wish I could show pictures on YouTube, but obviously I don't have my setup. So there's no screen shares actually, I probably could do a screen share now that I think about it, but it's too late. So anyway, people were there. There were people from everywhere, people from all over the Tri-County area. Occupy Wall Street showed up. Black Lives Matter showed up. Some Black militant groups showed up. And so you had this very diverse crowd of people, all who have different beliefs, but they all came for justice for Corey Jones. And they also came for the truth for what happened to Corey Jones, but also to how do we change the system to make this, to not allow this to happen ever again. And so once everybody started realizing that this is not an action for justice, this is a church service, people, sadly, I have pictures of people just dropping their banners and dropping them and leaving. People just left. And, and I do feel some kind of way even talking about it, because, if this rally, let's get this, and I'll state it like this. If this rally was simply for the family to express publicly how they are grieving and dealing with this, then okay, I understand. You have to do what you have to do, however you do it. But the flyers, the advertisement, the expectation was that we are marching or we are protesting, we're demanding, this is a flashpoint. We're here to let Palm Beach County and the nation, quite frankly, know that we're demanding justice for Corey Jones. And that's not what happened yesterday. The other thing that happened, and this is even worse, I probably shouldn't even talk about this, but it's all over Twitter, and President Obama serendipitously spoke about the same thing. Corey's brother got on stage at the press conference and at the rally and dismissed Black Lives Matter and said that it's not about Black Lives Matter, that it's all lives matter. And then, the proof that all lives matter was his wife, who was a white lady, and that Corey, he had Chinese friends, and Corey, all these types of things, trying to explain his rationale why we shouldn't say Black Lives Matter, but we should say all lives matter. Now, in all fairness, that's how he's grieving. That's how he needs to process it. Cool. I understand. Mind my business. But you're stepping over into the realm of commentary. And even when you're grieving, when you give commentary, you need to give you need to give informed commentary, especially when that commentary that you're offering can be counterproductive to your own pursuit of justice, right? So I have several posts on my Facebook page, which is public. You can go over there and take a look. I probably explained it in writing better than I'm explaining it now talking, but I just have to talk it through. My friends who are here, I think I talked them to death yesterday about this, so I figured I would come and talk to you guys about it. So, you know, notwithstanding what he said, but yesterday was interesting because President Obama, for the first time, actually laid out why Black Lives Matter is significant, why we should say, why it's okay to say Black Lives Matter. It's never been about discrediting all lives. And I think anyone with any modicum of common sense and general interest in what Black Lives Matter is doing understands that Black Lives Matter has never been about taking away from other lives. Black Lives Matter has always been a forceful assertion of our equality, of our humanity, of the fact that at this time we do not feel, and throughout American history, we have not felt as though Black Lives Matter as much. So therefore, we must assert it in an affirmative, in a forceful fashion to declare that Black Lives Matter. You can say Black Lives Matter too. You can say Black Lives Matter also. But when you have 140 characters, you're going to cut it off and say Black Lives Matter. And when you're out chanting, you're going to say Black Lives Matter. So there's a litany of reasons I've gone over in great detail here on the show. I might recap them. I may not. Depends on how I feel. But why we say Black Lives Matter. And those two things happened. And so there were a lot of people who were there. I have a video, and I'll play it next week, or I'll upload it separately. There was a white gentleman that was leaving as they started preaching a sermon. He had a sign in his hand that said Black Lives Matter. And so I talked with him. I said, how do you feel? How do you feel about what the brother said? And he was wise. He said, I understand the brother's grief. I recognize his grief. I respect his grief, but he's clearly speaking from a place of misinformation with regard to Black Lives Matter. And he started speaking on the exact same things that we're all saying about why Black Lives Matter is a relevant and necessary rallying cry. And it was just something, it was amazing that to hear and see. He wasn't just one white person. It was like there was a lot of white people there who were there with Black Lives Matter signs. And it was interesting to see that juxtaposition, to see the brother on stage talking about, no, it's not Black Lives Matter, it's all lives matter. But then you had an army of white people in the audience with the signs that said Black Lives Matter, and they understood the need and could explain, right? They weren't just there to be seen. They could explain, because I've talked to several of them. They explained the necessity for Black Lives Matter. So that was interesting. So those are two things happened. We didn't get any more information than what we already knew. Benjamin Crump, the attorney, civil rights attorney, he was there. I don't know. We'll see. I think the biggest thing is that we absolutely get justice for Corey. Some news came out that I haven't talked about here on air, but he was shot 5 times, and he was shot at 6 times and hit 5 times. And I thought that was interesting to see. He was shot. It looked as though he was running away. They haven't confirmed that, but the reason I can make that conjecture is because of how the scene actually looks, where the police officer Raja, in an unmarked van, in an no uniform, plain clothes, he didn't pull up behind him. He didn't pull up in front of him. He pulled in perpendicular to him in a very aggressive. His motor, Raja's motor, was almost in Corey's driver's side door. 3 a.m. in the morning, you get someone who swings in perpendicular to you in a white van, unmarked, nothing. And you're like, this guy is trying to get me. This guy is trying to, it looked like a hit. If somebody was carrying out a hit, this is exactly how it looked. So in your mind, Corey's mind, there's no way that this man can explain that I'm a police officer, even if he tried to. because one, he's not in any vehicle that looks like a police officer vehicle. He doesn't have any lights. He doesn't have any uniform, no radio, nothing, no badge, nothing to identify him as a police officer. And on top of that, he comes in perpendicular. Here's the van, and here's Corey's car. And so, you know, who in their right mind at 3 o'clock in the morning is not going to fear for their life? Now, here's the other thing we know. Corey did not shoot his gun. So, you know, why then was it necessary for the officer to shoot his gun and shoot his gun so many times? That's the big question. And so all these things have been coming out. I want to say this to backtrack a little. Some of the reason it's coming out, let's be real, some of the reason it's coming out is because of Black Lives Matter. The general movement, not just the rallying cry, but the general movement, not the organization, but the general movement. This story had national headlines by Monday at 11 a.m. when the New York Daily Post published it. Sean King published it. I had spoken with Sean King actually, you can see it on the video. During my show, he was tweeting me, sending me a message, and I was responding to him to give him more details while I was talking to you guys on the show. And Sean got that article out so quickly. And when Sean put it out, and I want to thank him for doing that, because when he put it out, the Washington Post picked it up. When the Washington Post picked it up, CBS News picked it up. When CBS News picked it up, Roland Martin picked it up. NBC picked it up. So it just kind of snowballed from there. And it all started with DeRay McKesson and Sean King, who I'm very, very, very grateful for, because and Dr. Boyce Watkins, who actually he was the one who shared it first, right? He was the very first one to share it at 6 a.m. that morning. So Boyce Watkins shared it at 6 a.m. and then Sean King shared it at 11 a.m. And by really at 11, when Sean has a huge platform, so at 11, that's national news. And by that afternoon, CNN, everybody was calling because they wanted to do the story. Now, this is relevant because Sean and DeRay, they are, and myself and Dr. Watkins, you know, we're not a part of the Black Lives Matter organization. However, we are a part of the general movement. We fall underneath the rallying cry to lesser or greater extents, right? I can't speak for all of them. I don't know exactly where they fall, but to lesser or greater extents, they fall underneath the general rallying cry. It was because of their platforms that this was national news before the police department could even get their press release out. The press release for the police department didn't come out till 4 o'clock. And they started describing Corey as a subject. They started describing him as the aggressor. But before they even could come out with that, we had successfully put out the correct image of Corey in the news. Now, I published my little article at Pathos, and I think by that afternoon it had like 5,000 views. So I did a little bit, you know, but it was really the efforts of these activists and these authors and these writers who put this on national news, and we were able to put out the consistent message that Corey was a Christian, church-going, church musician, good guy. And by 2, 3 o'clock that afternoon across the nation, everybody knew Corey was a good guy. Everybody knew Corey was a church musician. Everybody knew all these things about Corey before the negative stuff started coming out, which it did. So I want to express gratitude to the people who actually helped that happen. I got to see it work. I got to see the effectiveness of having a large crowd that wants and needs and respects your opinion. So I'm really grateful. And so I just thought it was ironic that the brother was dismissing Black Lives Matter. But to be quite honest, without Black Lives Matter, to greater or lesser extent, right, this would not have had the national coverage the very first day. Day one, numero uno, before the police department came out with their stuff. We had already solidified in the national conversation that Corey was a church musician gunned down by a police officer. He was a good guy with a clean record and just the best kind of guy you could ever know. So we did our part. You know, I'm not downing the brother because he needs to mourn however he needs to mourn. So, you know, I'm still there in my hearts and my minds. Everyone's going to do things differently. Everyone's not going to agree on everything. I am disappointed in the rally because we did not it was not something that could serve as a catalyst for more. You know, I think we're at a juncture where we cannot afford to have protest for the sake of protest. And if we are going to gather with 750 people, we need to mobilize. We need to mobilize them into action, not yelling, not marching down the street, but, you know, we're here. This is step one. Here's step two. Here's step 3 to step 25. Here's how we go from this rally to systemic change to make sure that this never happens to anyone else ever again. That's what we needed. That's what we didn't get. I don't think this is necessarily just the case for this rally. I think there's been plenty of rallies in the past where there is nothing productive that comes from it. There is nothing that there. Where's the next logical step? So it's not just this rally. I think it's problematic that we don't have concrete plans every time we step out the gate. But this was one that I was at, and so I'm giving commentary on that. So that's what happened. At the end, I'll give a lot more commentary about the faith component and how faith really got in the way of action and how faith could, and I did a little Facebook post. I might write a full article. Faith either castrates you or mobilizes you. And for me, it mobilizes me, and it makes me move into action. But it doesn't do that for everybody. So anyway, that's that. Right about at this point, I would trigger up a commercial so I could take a break and gather my thoughts, but I don't have any commercials, not today. So I'm going to count to 10, cut off my mic and count to 10, gather my thoughts, and be right back. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So let me do a hard shift. I'm feeling better. I was reading political news and thought to myself, I have to talk about this. So that's a good sign that I'm getting back to normal and able to do my job for you guys. So Hillary Clinton did an 11-hour inquisition with the Benghazi committee. It was clips. I did not watch any of it live. I saw clips of it all over the internet. Some very interesting clips, but they showed that it was really a desperate attempt by Republicans to bring down Hillary Clinton. Let me start here. We've argued back and forth over Hillary's progressive credentials. We've argued whether or not she's good for America or she's status quo. And whether or not people who support Bernie Sanders, would we support Hillary Clinton after if she wins the nomination? One of my number one positions against Hillary Clinton is that I don't believe in a dynasty. I don't believe that we should have families who have multiple family members, especially in the same generation, to serve as a president. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that Hillary Clinton is a progressive. I don't. I think she's a moderate at best, status quo, most certainly a status quo politician. But I've been telling people there are some redeeming values in Hillary Clinton. And yesterday, Hillary Clinton showed a fortitude that is most certainly needed in the office of the presidency. President Obama has that. I believe Bernie Sanders has that. I think it was interesting to see how Hillary Clinton took these Republicans to task. She endured. She didn't wince. She didn't cry about the time. She didn't care about their little petty attacks about, we'll give you time to read a note. They were so petty and fatuous. They looked like children trying to bully someone they didn't like. And so Hillary handled it well. I don't think anybody who is a equitable observer can deny that Hillary Clinton handled that well. I was impressed with what she did. I was impressed with just You know what? You know why she impressed me so much yesterday was because the Republicans were trolling her. And I like people who know how to handle trolls, because you have to be able to handle trolls. There will always be trolls on every level. The Republicans were trolling. They did not have anything new. They did not have any revelation. They did not want to talk about the transcript. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but there's a particular transcript that they wanted to use against Hillary Clinton, but they didn't want to use the entire transcript because it revealed that they were not interested in Benghazi at all. They were interested in the relationship that he had with the Clinton Foundation. They were interested in finding things politically that could just, they were not interested in Benghazi. And Hillary Clinton just literally brushed her shoulder off a couple times. Just brushed her shoulder off. I have to applaud here for her because, yeah, that was pretty whack. I'm using some other effects, but I have to give her an applause because she handled it well. And we are dealing with an irrational opposition party that are becoming more intransigent every single day. They are becoming more conservative, not less conservative. They're becoming more irrational, not less irrational. And so you have to be able to bitch slap these people. And Hillary Clinton just mollywopped their asses all day long yesterday. And it was a beautiful thing to see. So I still don't believe, and I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton if I tried to say that she was a progressive. I can't say that she's a progressive. She's not. Stop lying to yourselves. If you want to support Hillary, then you need to support her for the things that she is good at. And what she is good at is what she did yesterday. She is great under fire. She's great under pressure. Tout that. Don't tout that she's some progressive, because she's not. And you don't have to, she doesn't have to be a progressive for you, probably. She has to be one for me. But I'm not going to delude myself and say that she's something that she's not just so that I can justify supporting her. When I can look at the things that she actually is good at and say, this is a reason we should support her. If there was nobody else to fight against these Republicans, I would want Hillary Clinton in the fight against these Republicans. My preference, you guys already know my preference, right? We have to go over it again. I believe progressivism comes first because that's how we move the nation forward. Progressivism is the utmost importance. That's how we get beyond. That's how we get to the next stage in American evolution. But Hillary Clinton, though not a progressive, she's a fighter, and she stood there. And I was thinking about the poem Invictus, and no matter how dark the path or nor how charged with punishment the scroll, she stood there and took it for hours, 11 hours of trolling. I think I'm good right now with about maybe 2 hours of trolling, and then I'm cussing somebody out and I'm throwing something. So she has the resilience and the fortitude that's necessary. So I want to applaud her for that. I think that was refreshing. I think that was useful. I think Joe Biden, just crossed my mind. Joe Biden's not running. I know that's Wednesday's news, guys, but I was out of commission on Wednesday. This is going to help Hillary Clinton because Joe Biden was taking away from her crowd. So this is going to hurt Bernie Sanders. But I think it's going to be an interesting. Jim Webb is out. I think Lincoln Chafee is going to be out this weekend. So it's not even a three-man race. Maybe Jim Webb picks up. I'm sorry, maybe Martin O'Malley picks up the 1% from Jim Webb, and maybe he picks up the 1% from Lincoln Chafee, and so then he'll get to a combined 3%. I don't know, but it's a two-man fight already. So we're going to see a lot of battle lines drawn in Democratic progressive circles, and I do see that one redeeming value for Hillary Clinton, that she is a fighter, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having a person that is a fighter. Progressive, no. Fighter, yes. So I just want to talk about that. All right, guys, I don't know if you guys are leaving any comments. Let me jump over to the comment section in YouTube and see if there's any feedback or commentary there. And before we leave, it's not going to be a full show, but before I leave, I am going to talk about an article that I'm working on, and I'll get it out today about, hang on, I think I'm going to mess up something here. Hang on, hold tight, boom. Okay. So let's go through some. Let's do some comments. This comment is from the Politicat, and I'm reading them raw. So I might end up reading a troll comment, but I know Politicat. She's a troll. She's not. She's good people. So Black Lives Matter keeps saying they started because of Trayvon Martin, and in retrospect, I think they have somehow co-opted organic online social media movement that brought about the case to light. Yeah, I don't think the movement is focused, and I'm glad that Obama was able to articulate exactly what Black Lives Matters mean. You know, they do backtrack and say that they came out as a result of Trayvon Martin. I think what happened, Politicat, was that they were mobilized individually because of Trayvon Martin, but they did not solidify that organization, honestly, until after Mike Brown. So I have to agree with you 100%. Lugs X, I had to screen that one because I don't recognize that name. Lugs X says, so let me get this straight. Private citizen, let me get this straight. A private citizen has every right to discharge his weapon, but he shows complete restraint. A police officer that is paid to show restraint, but fails at every level, and there's nothing wrong with this. Man, this is effed up. Lugs, I have to agree with you 100%. In that scenario, what Corey faced on Sunday morning, it is rational to expect, it's reasonable to expect that that a citizen is going to fear for their life. Corey could have discharged his weapon. Corey could have shot the cop. This cop, honestly, let's look at it from a flip side. Let's look at it from a different angle. This cop put himself in unnecessary danger because he was incompetent. So at a bare minimum, he needs to never be a police officer anywhere ever again because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Because I don't know what I'm looking at. Let me look at this camera. Because he clearly could have been shot 5 or 6 times before he could even get the words out that I'm a police officer. But Corey doesn't shoot him. Maybe I don't know why, but that hesitation, it ended up being Corey. So maybe Corey should have just started blasting because he was fearful of his life. In retrospect, but you're absolutely right, Lugs, that that Corey had every reason to shoot this unarmed, this unmarked vehicle, plain clothes, no badge, no gun. Well, he had a gun, no badge, no walkie-talkie, no radio, nothing. This guy was to me was just someone who was trying to rob me, mug me, kill me. Corey had every reason to shoot him. He didn't shoot his gun, but the police officer did, and that's representative of how messed up our system is. So Davin's giving some commentary about Hillary Clinton. He said, yeah, they're looking to get rid of Hillary by any means. I've never seen a male candidate attacked like her. I think that's something, that's a great observation. I'm thinking as I talk, I don't think that I have seen. There have been some rather cantankerous and combative Senate hearings. So before I go with you 100% on that, I have to do some more research, but I cannot recall any other hearing that was as frivolous, meaningless, but cantankerous and dismissive and disrespectful. I cannot think of one. And I'm sure if we go, we could probably find one, but at this time, I can't think of one. All right, so those are the comments on the page right now. When I come back from another mental break, just going to count to 10 and hang on, let's pause that. Okay, I have a couple more questions. Let's talk about this. Cat Feet says, I'm glad you said something about Corey's brother and his dissenting opinion on All Lives Matter. Some people were very protective of their friends and wasn't clear if you were or were not going to say something. You're completely correct. If it weren't for Black Lives Matter, this would never be news. And then she corrected his dissenting opinion on Black Lives Matter. So I said it. If you guys are riding with me, I'm going to tell the truth no matter where I find it. I did listen to a wise person's advice, and I didn't write the article. I was in Starbucks yesterday, just pissed off after the rally. I'm in, you seen that meme of Kermit the Frog just typing away? I was in there furiously typing, And I spoke with a wise man who I won't name because I don't want to keep name dropping. But he told me to let it go and not write the article. And I let the article go. But this is my show. And if I don't keep it real anywhere else, it's going to be real here. And I think that Corey's brother was absolutely wrong. I think he was uninformed. I don't think he understands. I don't think he's paid attention enough. And this is the thing, the most exhausting people to inform on Black Lives Matter are Black people. Like I'm glad to sit down and have a conversation with a white person or other, whatever the race, ethnicity, or what background, whatever. I'm happy to sit down and have that conversation with them, because even though they should go and get informed themselves, I can understand why they wouldn't know. But to have a Black person who's completely uninformed and misinformed, I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going to use it, is exhausting. It's like, where have you guys been for the last year? You know, if you don't understand something, then just talk about your brother. And that was disappointing at the rally too. I think 3 people, 4 people, including the dad, but there was like 20 people who spoke. You know, 4 people out of 20 actually talked about Corey. And every time somebody talked about Corey, it was so genuine and heartfelt, and it gripped your heart. And then all these other people came up talking about political stuff, and it was just like a photo op. So, but yes, Cat Feet, I'm going to keep it real no matter where I am. This is especially on my show. Omni Mortar says, love you for doing this, Ben. That's all. Keep being strong. Thank you. I read all your comments, Omni Mortar, and I definitely appreciate it. Hillary is a fighter when fighting for herself. Politicat. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. So the question that we have to ask ourselves is, how many things how many places do our interests perfectly align with Hillary Clinton? Let's say there's 10 categories. You have to decide, if I perfectly align with Hillary Clinton on 6 of them, then I know on those 6 issues, she's going to fight like hell. But on those other 4 issues, she might turn coat and do something that's counter to what we need. So when you add up all the things, that's how you decide who you're going to vote for. Who is perfectly aligned with what I need the most, right? Who is the most aligned with what I need? If Bernie Sanders hits 8 out of the 10, then that's the person you should vote for. If Hillary Clinton hits 9 out of 10, then most certainly vote for her. But if Hillary Clinton is down there with 3 or 4 or 5 things, then the only real thing that she agrees with you on is Planned Parenthood, then that leaves a lot to be desired. So I think you're absolutely right. All right. Are you starting shows and not letting people know? Hey, yeah, Davin. Yeah, this morning was just, I had an internet connection and I woke up and I said, you know what? To hell, let's do this. So speaking of starting shows, guys, next week, this is what I've decided on. I haven't decided on the hour, but I've decided to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings. It's either going to be 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. No. Don't call. Am I still live? Somebody called on my cell phone. Okay. Anyway, I don't know if it's going to be 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. I'm leaning towards 7. Who's on TV at 7? Chris Matthews. Well, I'm not competing with any of them anyway, so it doesn't matter. 8 o'clock is kind of late. 9 o'clock, I like to see Rachel Maddow from time to time. So I don't know. I'll figure out the hour, but it will definitely be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm taking Fridays off so I can actually do things with my family at least once a week. And that's starting next week. I will land back in Boston on Monday. And so if I have time to set everything up, this will start on Monday evening. I will send out emails. I will do better about that and get back in the regular flow of things. So this is my last morning show. Nah. All right. So this is my last morning show. We'll see you guys next week. I'm going to take a quick break. I will read more comments and discuss it on the air. And when I take a break, I'm going to come back and talk about faith and action and how I think religion betrays people. There's a lot of intersections there, right? And let me stop talking now before I start going into it. So let me just take 5 seconds to gather my thoughts, and I'll be back. All right, I imagine that's more than 5 seconds. All right. So my number one beef, I don't know, it's a coin toss. I don't know which one pissed me off more. The all lives matter ridiculousness, or the fact that this was not a rally or a catalyst point as much as was a church service. I toss of a coin. I tweeted about them yesterday, so you can see my full thoughts. But I want to talk about religion. And I had this debate. Let me start here. I had this debate, this ongoing debate with Yvette Carnell from Your Black World. I love Yvette. Brilliant, fierce. I mean, she's a beast. And when I say beast, by beast, I mean you're like beast mode, like you know, in the zone. She's dynamic, a force to be reckoned with. I actually, you know, she's one of the few people that I'm hesitant to debate. That's how good she is. But we had this ongoing debate, and I crafted out this position so good that it created a stalemate between us. And the debate was about whether or not Christians should forgive people after they've been, like South Carolina, shot up 9 times, 9 people killed by Dylan Roof. And then the family went into the courtroom and forgave Dylan Roof the very next day. Justice hasn't even been served, but they're ready and quick to give forgiveness. And so she and I have been quietly debating behind the scenes about that still, but we have a video out there on YouTube where it's like a 30-minute debate, and I'm in it, like boom, 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 boom. I have this position of, this is my position, that we can't dictate to the family how they should mourn. If the family wants to mourn using their faith and their religion, let them. It's not up to us to tell them how to mourn. And it's our job, though, to still go out and do the work and the action to seek justice on their behalf, even if they are saying things that are counterproductive. Well, it was a good argument. It was a good debate point. It drew a stalemate, but I have to concede. I have to backtrack, and I have to swallow my words. Because yesterday, as I said at that rally, I was like, oh my God, if this family doesn't get out of the way and stop being counterproductive to their own goal, I'm going to throw some shit. So I found myself repeating Yvette Carnell's exact words when it was an issue that I was trying to be a fighter for, and the family was being, no, let's just praise Jesus about it. So Yvette, I love you anyway as a sister, but you were right. I was wrong. And faith can become a castrating tool. Faith, religion can, now it doesn't happen to everybody, right? I was using myself, and I was using the woman from South Carolina who went on the poll and tore down Bree, what is her name, everybody? Bree, and I'm Googling it as I talk to you, flagpole. See if I can find her name real quick, because I want to give a woman climbs poll. Bree Newsom. So Bree Newsom, she climbed the pole in South Carolina, and she took down the Confederate flag. And as she did it in the name of her faith, which is my faith, Christianity. She did it in the name of Jesus. So I was like, I used her as an example, and I used myself as an example, and I used some other people. But our faith mobilizes us. Like when I read the Bible, when I read the story of Moses coming out and the children of Israel coming out, I see myself as the children of Israel, that God had to deliver us from the oppression of American slavery, right? That's how I read the Bible, because that's what the Bible says, right? So it moves me into action. That's why when I see an injustice, even if it's an injustice against something that, you know, like injustice against gays and lesbians, right? You know, even though I grew up and I was taught that that was wrong, it's still an injustice that has to be fought. So my faith mobilizes me not only to seek justice on my own behalf, but it mobilizes me to seek justice on behalf of other people, even if I disagree with them. I don't agree with conservatives, but if there was something that was genuinely oppressing them, I would come to their aid, because my faith mobilizes me. So I use that as an example and try to pass that off as the norm, as the rule, when in actuality, I think I have to admit now that people like Bree Newsom and myself and people who use their Christian faith as a mobilizer of people who use their Christian faith to fight systemic injustices and oppression wherever we see it, like Dr. King, I think we're the exception now and not the rule. And maybe I was being dishonest with myself. Maybe I was trying to speak, because one thing I'm going to defend is I'm going to defend my right to believe what I want to believe. And maybe I was just defending my faith. I was, butthurt, as they like to say. But now, if I'm going to be true to myself, to thine own self be true, I have to admit that faith can castrate you, man, especially for Black people. Now, I want to give you the flip side of this. This is one of the interesting intersections, interesting angles on this. There are those whose faith mobilizes them to be an oppressor, which I don't understand personally, because if you've ever been oppressed, I don't know how you can turn around and start being the oppressor. But there are those people whose faith mobilizes them so much that they become dictatorial, they become oppressive, they commence with the Crusades, they commence with the Iraq War in the name of God, and they do all of these ridiculous things that are detrimental to humanity in the name of their faith. So you have the spectrum, the entire American system, the supremacy system here in America was built on the backs of Christianity. So you have this interesting dichotomy. You have at the bottom of the totem pole, you have a lot of Black Christians whose faith just kind of neuters them, and they're always waiting on God to fix something. They're always waiting on God to come to their rescue. They always, they want to pray about it. What hell, we could pray about it. We can sing about it, but we could fight about it too. And that's where I come from. That's how I was raised. That's what my father, my dad was a social, and this is tangentially, my dad was a social justice warrior. People are trying to make that a pejorative. You got to find you got to find something, some other way of describing it, because social justice warriors through history have brought about dynamic changes. So you got to find a new pejorative. That one doesn't work. It would never work for me. So that's how I was raised. My dad fought for social justice. I fight for social justice. So it amazes me when I see people who don't know how to fight for justice through the system, and all they do is want to sing Kumbaya Damn Ya. That's all they want to do is sing "We Shall Overcome." Well, I almost said the N-word. I got a little too real. I'll say that around my friends. Y'all are my friends, but you understand. You understand. Well, Negro, if you can't fight for your own self, then why would God fight for you? If you can't if he's giving you hands and feet, and you could go out and you could change the world with the hands and feet and intelligence that he gave you, why do you expect him to come and do some kind of magic mysticism? It makes absolutely no sense. Why does God have to do a magic mystical miracle to change your oppression when you could pick up a bat and fight for your freedom? This is the analogy I came up with yesterday, and one of my friends thought it was apropos. Was astute, actually. Forget it. I don't know which one is the right word, but it's like this. White supremacy, not even white supremacy, scratch that word. The systemic problems in America that led to Corey's death, they are like a tree that is deeply rooted, and that tree is like 500 years old. You have some Christians who go up to that tree and start singing, praise the Lord, Jesus is going to tear down the tree, Kumbaya, we shall overcome. They just looking at this big ass tree and singing, fix the tree, Jesus, fix the tree, Jesus, hallelujah, fix the tree, Jesus. I'm sitting around the tree like, Negroes, I got an axe. Hallelujah, tear down the tree, cut that thing down. I do not understand the pathology of people who will not take action when action is within their reach because they expect God to do something. When God put hands and intelligence in you, it's like a person who will not take their medicine when the doctor has given you a prescription that will cure you. And you're saying, no, we're going to let God fix it. You big dummy, take your medicine. That is why can't God work through? I can't, you know what? Maybe these people are small earth believers, young earth believers. Maybe that's what it is, because maybe they don't believe that God would use anything tangible and physical. He's only going to do magic and mysticism. That's not the religion. That's not my faith. I don't believe in that. I believe in that our world is systemic. Our world is measurable. Our world is scientific. We can use the tools of science rather to measure and learn more about this creation. Right. So that means that if there is a creator, he has to be science. He has to be the God of science. You know, he has to be the, you know. So let me get off that train of thought. But the point, what I'm saying is that if you believe that, if your faith teaches you that God is only going to do something through magic and mysticism, then maybe that explains why you won't get up and fight for yourself, because I guess you're waiting on what, God to rain down fire from heaven, when he's giving you all the tools necessary to change the world around you. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And that's what we saw yesterday. We saw a bunch of Christians standing in front of a 500-year-old oak tree of oppression, systemic racism, racial profiling, the dehumanization of Black people, the criminalization of Black people, the fear of Black people, all those things that played into Corey Jones's death. And they wanted to sing at that tree. And I'm like, we need to tear this bitch down. Maybe I'm just not a good Christian. I don't know. Actually, I do know. I'm a very good Christian. So that's where I am. That's what I'm feeling. And I think that's a wrap. Guys, let me just see, you know, before I leave, let me just see if there's any other comments and get feedback on those comments and get out of here. All right. Okay, hold on. Press pause. There are more comments. Let's see. Okay, that's a link from Davin. Hang on. Let's go right back to see if there are any more comments. I think that's it, folks. Because I really enjoy your comments. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Hold on while I filibuster a little bit. Yep. Yes, you're right about faith. This is from Politicat. Faith being a way our will is stifled and how to take away your natural call to action and seek justice. But this is just the nature of faith. Okay. It depends on what you were taught in church. Some Blacks were taught to wait for the magic of Jesus, while others were taught that magic is within you. I like that. The magic is in you. The power is in you. Either one, they are indoctrinated. They are indoctrinated into it. It is hard to break them out of it, and either can be positive or negative. Not necessarily faith, but love can make a difference. And through that action taken by the victims' families, they were able to bring about fast change in the state, getting the flag removed. I don't quite follow that last part. I do know love is powerful. Demonstrating love is a very, very powerful thing. Being able to forgive someone that has hurt you is a powerful thing. I'm not opposed to forgiving, but when that forgiveness becomes an impediment, when the forgiveness is the end, that's the thing. When your faith is the end result and you did not get systemic change, then your faith has become a stumbling block. Faith should come first if you're a person of faith, right? You know, it's like this. My family and I, we don't really go to church anymore, just for several reasons. One, we can't find a good church in Boston yet. I'm sorry, I just can't find a place I'm comfortable. But we pray every single day. We do this at home. We do it in our inner circle. Me, my son, my daughter, my wife. We pray. We sing a song. We read a scripture. We tell an old Bible story. I do have to edit them for my kids because I can't tell it. You know, I can't tell them that that God killed the firstborn. So we do that at home though. And then we go out and do everything we need to do. My faith comes first, and then I get to work. Yesterday, and even in South Carolina, their faith was the very end. This was the end of the story. They asked for forgiveness, or they gave Dylan Roof forgiveness, and we really don't hear anything else except there's a trial. But how about changing the system? How about changing the mindset? How about doing whatever we can to, even if it's whatever it is, to ensure that this doesn't happen so easily the next time? And on yesterday, yes, they were demonstrating love and forgiveness, but that was the end of the story. That wasn't the beginning of their story. That was the end. And for me, you could have your faith all you want. Just let it be the beginning. Don't stop there. Go change the world with your faith. Make the world a better. What good is your faith if it's not going to make the world a better place? Like, what good is your politics if it's not going to make the world a better place? What good is your ideology, your philosophy, your life, your worldview if it's not going to make the world a stronger and better place and move humanity forward? If it's not going to do that, then I think it's kind of useless. She's fighting when she's fighting herself. Yeah, we talked about that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Folks, I think I'm rambling at this point. I don't see any new questions. I do see one tweet. Let's see if it's a relevant tweet. No, it's not a relevant tweet. Hey, man, I love you guys. You guys are good people. You showed me a lot of love and concern during this tough time. I think I'm back mentally. I think I'll be back mentally on Monday. Enough things happen to stimulate my thinking processes again. I'm able to focus a little bit better. That was the most difficult thing. I just could not focus for anything. But I think I'm able to focus now. It's going to be a lifelong healing process, especially for the family. So, keep them in your hearts and your minds. And as far as me, I'm going to keep fighting to bring changes the best way that I know how, so that this does not happen to anyone else's kid. I would wish that it would never happen again, but there's so many changes that have to take place that unfortunately it may happen again before we get the changes done. But all that to say, thank you for your support. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for being who you are. I have the best audience. It's not a big audience, but it is the best audience in the world. So you guys take care. I'm closing out on the radio show with my normal music. YouTube, I'll holler at you later.